You know, after looking at all the possible candidates for this list, the power creep in this franchise is straight up bananas. Seriously, without giving much away, we go from basically a named trio of thugs to the matriarch of all ninja society who is also an alien. Wrap your head around that for a moment. Jokes aside, I have to commend the sheer variety of Naruto. Unlike other battle shonen, where the big battle ending attack is just the big energy blast, the powers and abilities of these characters have some personality behind them. It was fun going through the various villains' superpowers and moves and thinking, yeah, I mean, Kisame does have a shark sword, but can he beat Snake Boy? These are conversations I never thought I'd have at my age, but here we are. We have 20 villains, all or most of them are baddies, and we rank them by power level, just for you. Let's get started. Starting out this list, we have Team Dosu, one of the 3 teams Orochimaru had used in order to infiltrate the Chunin exams and attack the Leaf Village. The members of this team include Dosu Kinuta, Kintsuchi, and Zaku Abumi. While these 3 entered as genin and were mostly all whipped out by the end of the second round in the exams, they still posed a threat, especially to Naruto's team. While in the Forest of Death, Naruto and Sasuke were taken out after their fight with Orochimaru, leaving Sakura to defend them. Team Dosu attacked Sakura in order to take all 3 of them out for good. During the skirmish, Shikamaru's team, along with Rock Lee, fought with the 3 sound ninjas, but they all fell. Eventually, Sasuke woke up in time to deal with them, but for a time, these 3 named goons seemed to be the biggest threat. Sadly, power creep has left them at the bottom of this list. And now to begin this list properly with an iconic villain. Haku was one of the first villains in Naruto to be considered a legitimate threat. He and Zabuza were hired to kill the Bridge Maker during Naruto's first real mission as a ninja. While Zabuza had more raw power, Haku's skills preferred to entrap and toy with his victims. He managed to trap Sasuke and Naruto in the ice prism, and while someone like Kakashi could break out with no problem, the ice prison nearly killed Sasuke. Had it not been for the raging beast within Naruto, the two would not have had a way out of Haku's jutsu. In the end, it wasn't Naruto who took him out, but it was Haku's love for Zabuza that made him take a Chidori in the chest. R.I.P. Haku. Speaking of Haku, let's talk about his better half. Well, more powerful half anyway. As stated before, Zabuza was a mercenary ninja from the land hidden in the waves. Known as the Demon of the Hidden Mist, Zabuza was on Kakashi's level. Despite being one of the first major villains in the series, it took all of Kakashi's concentration to take him down. Heck, during that fight, it gave Naruto and Sasuke the perfect opportunity to work together and help out Kakashi. Together, Zabuza and Haku were an effective and powerful team. After he and Haku were taken down the first time, they came back via a resurrection jutsu during the 4th Shinobi World War. Even after all that time had passed, Zabuza was still as strong as ever. Zabuza's legacy does live on, don't think we're done with him quite yet. Suigetsu is an up-and-coming shinobi with big dreams and bigger shoes to fill. He's often heralded to be the second coming of the demon, a reference to Zabuza's title. This is due to Suigetsu's strong taijutsu and skill with water jutsu. Perhaps his most striking connection to the former demon is that Suigetsu also carries Zabuza's blade, the Kubikiri Bocho. He shows off his power and skill when he's able to go toe-to-toe with Killer Bee in his perfect beast mode. While Suigetsu aligns himself with Sasuke, his ultimate goal is to gather the swords from the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist. This causes him to come into direct conflict with Kisame and the Akatsuki. So maybe Suigetsu is less of a villain and more of an anti-hero with his own agenda. Scratch that. That's just a villain with extra steps. This next entry comes with a few caveats. Firstly, Zetsu is a being made up of 2 parts, White Zetsu and Black Zetsu. Secondly, they work for Princess Kaguya, a much more powerful entity, and as such should be higher up on this list. Given that we only see Zetsu fight a handful of times and see only a fraction of their power, we can only put them up so high. Fans have speculated that Zetsu could have played a bigger role during Shippuden. Another thing that works against Zetsu is their powers. White Zetsu can copy ninja techniques and attacks, while Black Zetsu can control other beings. In either case, they have to copy another ninja or control them, which limits them in the raw power category. Deidara is the epitome of simple and effective. You know, other ninjas try to use complicated jutsu and enhance their bodies to superhuman levels. Deidara's method is simple. If it moves, blow it up. Yes, Deidara's main bread and butter jutsu is his unique ability to infuse his chakra into clay to make it explosive. Of course, he doesn't just stick his clay on anything to make it explode. He has mouths on his hands and chest that mold the clay into special sculptures. These can be objects or animals, which will then explode on his command. Deidara can also make explosive clones of himself, which he can use like a substitution jutsu. This made him a perfect agent for the Akatsuki to use to nab Gaara. Why fight his perfect defense head-on when you could just blow it up? Even Pain had to recognize Deidara's power when he eventually passed, stating that Deidara's defeat was a serious blow to the organization. If that isn't high praise, I don't know what is. We just got over Zabuza and Haku's power dynamic, so let's talk about another duo. Unlike Haku and Zabuza, Hidan and Kakuzu can't stand each other and tend to work together out of necessity rather than mutual respect. Hidan's signature ability might land him at the #1 spot on its own. You see, Hidan is essentially immortal. After experimenting with a variety of Joshinists' experiments, Hidan is able to recover from nearly all attacks and is incapable of dying, save for malnutrition. With this immortality, Hidan is able to employ a powerful curse that links him to his opponent. If any damage is dealt to him, his opponent suffers the damage too. This is how he takes down Asuma-sensei. So if he is immortal, why is he not #1? Well, aside from not being as strong as the other members on this list, he can still be incapacitated. Shikamaru blew him to bits and buried the bits alive, thus rendering Hidan helpless. I'll say this much about Kakuzu. He faced the first Hokage and lived. That should tell you how powerful this dude is. With that said, he does have a bit of a temper, so much so that he often kills the partners working with him. All but one, actually. Hidan. Despite all of his rage, he was unable to kill the immortal Hidan, and thus was made the perfect partner. The key to Kakuzu's power is the fact that he isn't 100% all put together. Now what I mean by that is that his body is composed of hundreds of tightly woven tendrils. It's a technique called Earth Grudge Fear, and it allowed Kakuzu to disassemble his body to attack from a distance as well as close large gaps. Aside from being a great weapon, the tendrils can be used to grant Kakuzu a kind of immortality. Without going into gory detail, the tendrils could pierce flesh and, well, Kakuzu could appropriate organs to replace his own should they fail. It's no wonder that Kisame called Hidan and Kakuzu the zombie duo. If Zabuza's the demon in the mist, then Kisame was known as the monster in the mist. Kisame has an impressive rap sheet. He's one of the ninja swordsmen of the mist and a member of the Akatsuki. He's not just a random mid-tier member though. Kisame is one of the top members, stronger than the previous entries on this list by a wide margin. How strong is he? Well, just on his own, he was able to overwhelm Killer Bee at his full strength. If his physical strength wasn't enough, his chakra reserves rival that of a tailed beast. Some even call Kisame the tailed beast with no tail on account of his superhuman chakra levels. The terrifying cherry on top of all this is the blade he keeps at his side. I mean, it's technically a blade, but not in a traditional sense. Samehada is a semi-sentient array of sharp scales that tear and rip at flesh rather than slash like a normal sword. If anyone other than Kisame wields the sword, painful spikes will stab at the hands of the unworthy wielder. He was able to last as long as he did because only a handful of Akatsuki could top his power. To be a puppet master requires a unique blend of skill and innate talent and creativity. Sasori surpassed all expectations and became the greatest puppet master ever, for a time at least. This dude was an S-ranked ninja from the village hidden in the sand before he left all that to join the Akatsuki. Not much could really be said about his personality except that he was a sad and lonely kid. As if the technical prowess of controlling one puppet wasn't hard enough, he could command 100 puppets at once, controlling them with invisible strings of chakra. Of course, no matter how many puppets he controlled, it was no match against just two, the puppets Chiyo controlled of Sasori's mother and father. Up next, we have Konan, one of the founding members of the Akatsuki. Now, you would think a founding member would be intimidating, but Konan looks downright pleasant on the surface. She's better to look at than half the other members, that's for sure. But don't let her looks fool you though. While her main jutsu revolve around paper folding, its lethality can't be understated. You've gotten a paper cut, right? Now, imagine being attacked by hundreds of resilient pieces of paper that can cut through stone. Even Sasori's puppets were turned to mulch after facing off against Konan, though it's not always the raw power you have to worry about. Because her paper folding techniques can be embedded onto any surface, an unsuspecting victim can fall into a trap and not even realize it until it's too late. Obito found out the hard way when he was trapped and surrounded by hundreds of paper bombs hidden by Konan. Never underestimate the power and versatility of paper. Naruto makes being a ninja look so fun, but the real job of a shinobi is hardly ever fun. Sometimes you have to do dark and terrible things in order to protect your village. Danzo is that mentality to a T. As the leader of Root, a division of the Leaf Village's Anbu Black Ops, Danzo was no stranger to dark dealings and secrets. Even though he undermined the lives of many Leaf Village officials, including Lady Tsunade, Danzo always believed he was working in the village's best interests. Naturally, you don't become the leader of a covert team and potential 6th Hokage without being extremely powerful yourself. Danzo dealt with several body modifications, such as embedding Sharingan eyes and the first Hokage's DNA into his body. Despite his affinity for body modification and his skill with wood-release ninjutsu, he fell to Sasuke Uchiha. One of the 3 legendary Sannin, Orochimaru was a long-standing antagonist in the Naruto franchise. A former member of the Akatsuki, Orochimaru sought immortality and power. We get a look at his power early in the franchise when he infiltrated the Chunin exams and battled Naruto and Sasuke. After giving Sasuke the curse mark, he attacked the Leaf Village while disguised as the Kazekage of the Sand Village. Not even the Third Hokage could adequately stop him before he died. Perhaps one of the most iconic villains in all of Naruto, Pain formed the Akatsuki with Konan and Yahiko. While his original name was Nagato, he adopted the alias Pain. Pain has the power to crush any one member of the Akatsuki with his incredible strength and his Rinnegan, but what makes Pain unbeatable is the 6 paths of Pain. Basically, he used 6 corpses and imbued them with receivers so that he could control them remotely. Each one of the 6 paths held a fraction of his power. Alone, each of them is a hassle, but all 6 of them are nearly unbeatable. Just on his own, Pain was able to level the entire Leaf Village. In what world is the assistant to one of the main villains stronger than the actual villain? Well, survival of the fittest doesn't always mean the strongest by default. Sure, 9 times out of 10 that's what it means, but Kabuto was resourceful and calculating. He spent a lot of time as Orochimaru's right-hand man, and even after the evil Snake Boy falls, Kabuto grafts his remains onto his own body to absorb his power. From there, Kabuto uses his knowledge and newfound power to be a major player in the 4th Shinobi World War. While he may have been the student, Kabuto surpasses his former master in terms of power and cunning. Was he a villain all along? Redeemed or not, Itachi was still a strong member of the Akatsuki and the one responsible for the Uchiha massacre. Basically, Itachi created Sasuke. His drive for power, his desire to get revenge, all thanks to Itachi's decision to take out his loved ones. Of course, we know that the decision to go through with that wasn't easy. Thanks to Danzo's influence, Itachi was given an ultimatum: take out the clan or the village will. This way, Sasuke would be spared. We can make an entire separate video on the true strength of Itachi, but there are 4 individuals who surpass even his skill. Indra Otsutsuki was the firstborn of Hagoromo, or the Sage of 6 Paths. Old Indra here was set up to succeed his father and learn all of his teachings, like the eldest is supposed to. However, his younger brother Asura ended up inheriting the mantle. Indra was the proto-Uchiha though. All the powerful techniques that would be inherited by the clan, the Sharingan among the most powerful, started with Indra. The story of Obito is something that is straight out of a soap opera. A childhood friend of Kakashi's who was thought to be dead was actually revived and brainwashed and orchestrated a convoluted revenge plot from the shadows? Only Obito, and that's all I'm gonna say on the matter. Left in the hands of Madara Uchiha, Obito basically took control of the Akatsuki, something that was much easier to do once pain was dealt with, and started the 4th Shinobi World War. Now we're approaching godlike power levels, and Obito has some ridiculous powers. Well, I guess the person who taught Obito all that he knows could be above him. Yeah, that makes sense. Madara Uchiha, one of the strongest of his clan and rival to the first Hokage. He took all the things that Indra started and perfected them into the techniques we know today. Mostly the Susanoo, which is basically like a giant JoJo stand mecha being thing. It's a very big warrior with a very big sword. Although size is not everything. Madara is able to control the tailed beasts with ease, and even uses them in the 4th Shinobi World War to attack the Hidden Leaf Village. Madara Uchiha is the closest thing mortals have to a god. To go above him, you'd have to be a god. Ladies and gentlemen, may I present a god. Kaguya is the mother of all ninja. I mean, her two grandsons are Indra and Asura, the first ninja to form the Uchiha and Senju clans. All ninjutsu and even chakra itself stems from her. She may have only appeared in the final arc, but Kaguya is the definition of a final boss. With her infinite Tsukuyomi, she could take her victims and put them in a dreamlike paradise of her choosing while she fed on their chakra. It's only because her two sons fought against her that humanity even had a chance to begin with. Indestructible and immortal, Kaguya was an unstoppable force that could not be defeated, only sealed away. And those were the most powerful villains in Naruto. Out of all the ones on the list, I think the most interesting was Deidara. The simplicity of his techniques and just how effective he was at taking people out was just so fun and satisfying to watch. Art is an explosion.